That brings us into the while we ride portion. We're always looking for a few different things while we're out there, right? Actually, in my awareness talks, I break it down into a few different steps that are see it, watch it. Oh, sorry. I did that wrong. I don't have it memorized. I use PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 45. Like, give me a break. See it, right? You're visually checking things out as you get there. Feel it. You take off. What's the snow feel like? Mm-hmm. Touch it. Get your hands in the snow. Find out what's going on in the snowpack. Confirm if what the advisory is talking about, if it's there. Watch it. Watch your buddy get on something, hopefully something small that can't bury them. See what the reactivity is going on. We call that a test slope. Ride it, so then you get to ride it. And then my favorite one, taste it. That means game on, POW days, in your face shots, party on. You got to taste it.
Yeah, you do. Love it.
But formally, right, that's to break the ice and have some fun.
Yeah.
Formally, when you're out there, you really want to look for recent avalanche activity. That is the #1 red flag. If you're seeing recent avalanche activity, which means in the past 24 hours, then you want to know what aspect, what elevation did it go, what did it slide on, what's the weak layer, and what caused it. So if it's a natural avalanche, that means it's likely for you to trigger, right? So like if nature's doing it on its own, add us to the slope and you got a problem.
Yeah, add a trigger and boom.
Yeah, so if you're seeing natural avalanches, chances are they're repeatable. So big heads up, right? After that, you want to look for other signs of instability, which would be getting your hands in the snow, looking for weak faceted grains like we did.
Yeah.
Looking for shooting cracks, looking for small pockets breaking off on test slopes, or even doing snowpack tests if you have that knowledge and have taken a class. And again, like doing snowpack tests is not a decision-making tool. It's just designed to gather data, right? So I would never do a snowpack test, get a result that implies stability, and then be like, oh, let's ratchet it up and go hit that slope.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, you're looking for the opportunity of a green light. I would rather do a snowpack test and say, well, this doesn't confirm anything, right? Because it didn't give us the right results.
Yeah.
Even though we know this layer is in the area, we confirm there's a weak layer underneath this strong slab. We're still going to play it safe, and I'll maybe go do some more and see what those results are.
Yeah.
And then I would say, well, or maybe our day was, hey, like it seems pretty good. We're dealing with this problem. We were going to get on this slope, and then we do a snowpack test and see some reactivity, and then be like, whoa, we're actually not going to go do that now.
Yeah, those are probably your more dangerous times, right, in the backcountry when a report might say something. Your brain says, hey, we're good today. You don't do some actual tests in the area that you're actually riding, and you find yourself, maybe you're a little bit more loose with your judgment.
Right.
Versus, hey, I'm on edge today because, you know, reports are saying
it's high danger or
it's high
something.
danger, right? So you're on edge.
It's easier to make good decisions when the reports are considerable or high, or even high danger. Considerable gets tricky because you might not see good evidence, but you're likely to trigger something.
Yeah.
And then in a moderate danger level, you probably won't see evidence, depending on the problem.
Yeah.
But you're still possible to trigger something. And the biggest killer is a persistent slab problem. And that's where you've got these loose, weak grains under the snowpack that take a long time to change. And that's what's going on around here right now. We have some persistent weak layers, and they don't give you good evidence. Like right now, there's good evidence, but they don't always do that.
Yeah.
And then you get on something, and the only evidence you get is when you trigger an avalanche.
Yeah.
And so it gets people the most. Like the most fatalities are from a persistent slab problem.
Now, do you use onX at all?
I do, yeah. And I was actually just talking with the GM out in the parking lot about onX and how great their product is. Sweet. I also use a couple others.
Yeah. So one thing, now let me walk you through this scenario, because the slope angle feature in onX is something that I look at when I'm on the computer. So I'm looking for new terrain. I pull up my slope angle, gives me my colors, right, that tell me, okay, this is 30, between 30 and 35, 35, 40, right? You're out there, you see a natural slide, all right? maybe you can eyeball and say that's a 40-degree angle right there, slid on 40, right? If I have my Onyx app and I'm standing right there and I'm looking at what just slid and it's showing me that's 35 or 40 or whatever, right?
it is.
And I see that color, I now can look all around me and say,
Avalanche
hey,
terrain,
all of
avalanche
this right
terrain,
here,
yeah.
like that we can see right here, this slid, all this is going to slide too. It could slide, right?
Depending on what's going on in the snowpack.
And that's a quick little check.
Sure. That would be a great way to use that tool.
Yeah.
But with all mapping software, it's very hard for them to get detailed down to the specific slope.
Yeah.
So you will find that in certain situations, the map might say a certain slope angle for this kind of area, but
when you're actually there,
when you're there,
like,
they might
be a little off.
Yeah, it might be a little off. Just fair warning, right?
Yeah.
It's a great generalization tool, and if you start to thread the needle on the map, and then try and do that in real life, you might find yourself in the wrong spot.
let me put a pin here. Okay, checkpoint, boom, boom.
Right,
boom.
and you're like, oh, there's avalanche terrain here and here, but then you're like in the real world, like, oh, that's actually the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's a great app and great use of tool, and that's actually what you explained is a great way to use it because you could double check things and see, oh yeah, like that is 40 degrees. Okay, cool. The other great tool is just the measuring app on your phone. You can actually shoot slope angles, shoot alpha angles, and the best way to get an eyeball for it is just to practice that all the time.
Yeah.
In classes, I do side bets.
Yeah.
Hey, how steep is this slope, do you guys think? And everybody throws in their answer, and then I gave out candy.
Good. Yeah, that's a good test right there for sure.
So we missed a couple things in the ride.
In the ride.
While we're riding, after we look for other signs of instability.
Okay.
If they list a persistent problem in the advisory, that's a red flag. Because that means you have a difficult to understand problem, right? Not a lot of signs, and then the one that kills the most people. Mm-hmm. So if you read persistent weak layer or persistent slab in an advisory, that's already like, okay, things are scary. Now you got to understand exactly where it lives, what aspect, what elevation. If you don't have an advisory, you got to go dig down and try and find it, right? You got to understand what's happening in the snowpack. Yeah. So it takes more knowledge if you're gonna go ride where there's no advisory.
Yeah.
After that, you're looking for recent loading, which is in the form of wind blowing snow, new snow, wind blowing new snow, or just a new storm dumping, right? If you get over a foot of snow in 24 hours, that's a pretty big load on the current snowpack.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question. Yeah. What is that number?
Like,
so over
if it's a foot, you're dealing with a problem.
Yeah.
Like just how it is.
Yep.
And new snow problems like a storm slab or wind slab are quicker healing than things buried in the snowpack like persistent slab or deep persistent slab. And then you're dealing with rapid warming after that. If it's warming up, a quick change in temperature, whether it's solar or just ambient temperature, can have big effects on the snowpack, usually from the top down. So basically what that does, if you have a buried persistent weak layer, and say the sun comes out and it goes from 25 degrees to 32 degrees, you've got a big change really quick, and that'll condense the top snow and make things probably more touchy.
Yeah.
But you'll see signs like pinwheels or roller balls, all the snow releasing out of the trees in the sun.
Yeah, which is kind of what happened up here. I mean, we were negatives the first part of the week.
Yeah, the roads were frozen, and now the roads are wet.
Yep.
Like, that's a sign right there. You don't have to be out in avalanche terrain to see this stuff. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So while we're riding, is that?
Those are the big things. Those are kind of the red flags.
Okay.
Like, if you see that stuff, then you need to make decisions and avoid more avalanche terrain.
Yeah.
So slopes over 30 degrees, obvious slide paths, anything with a terrain trap below it. A great thing I learned from a good friend of mine, Jeremy Hankey, was what's above me, what's below me, what happens if this slides. He probably said that in the podcast with you guys. It was a long one. I haven't been through the whole thing
I'd have
yet.
to check, yeah.
It's a great situational awareness reminder. If you think, while you're riding, if you think, what's above me, what's below me, what happens if this slides, you're going to make better decisions based on where you're at in terrain.